panic in Green Bay than it is in Tampa. It's just because they're Green Bay now. They're 4 games out of first place. I mean, it's an uphill trek to be able to catch the Minnesota Vikings at this point.
Hey, we are back with another episode of the Bobbled Exchange. I am AQ Shipley. We got Drew Stanton. We are at Pala downtown. They were gracious enough to get us in here with an unbelievable spread. 5 mushroom pasta, some cod cheeks. We got a chicken liver mousse with some milk bread, ribeye with a maple soy vinaigrette. We got Japanese sweet potatoes, salt spring mussels, some shrimp. Let's fucking go. Here we go. Cheers, brother.
One thing I've learned about you, though, Quay.
Talk to me.
Every week is an unbelievable spread. When Alan Quay goes anywhere, he is going to have an unbelievable spread.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
We're about to have an unbelievable show because we got an unbelievable spread.
That's exactly right. Trade deadline has passed. We got some firings. We got, well, really some excuses, right? Because we're firing some people.
Some CYA.
Some CYA. You know what that means? Cover your ass. That's a big thing in the coaching world. But biggest trades of the week, we saw a lot of big ones this week. For me, the biggest one, I spoke to you before the show, and I'm still going to say it. I think Jeff Wilson going to the Miami Dolphins fits what they do, fits their scheme. I think that is huge. That's an already good team. They get him and Bradley Chubb. Monster day for them in the trade world.
I think the team that won was Miami by getting Bradley Chubb, because anytime you can add a talent like that, you can increase the pass rush. They're going all in on both sides of the ball. And when they send that message to the team, when they infuse that kind of talent, I think it is everything that you want to know if you're in that locker room of saying, yes, we were happy with where we are, but we are an unfinished product of where we want to go. And they continually got better. Same thing can be said in Philadelphia, right? You make this move and you get an elite pass rusher again, a guy that's had as many sacks as he had through the course of his career with a defense that's already playing well. Yeah. You're not sitting back, you're not being passive, and you're trying to make these moves. And the thing that was most interesting to me, right, is when it became nut cutting time and it was everybody's trying to get in there under the gun. And you saw Nyheim Hines get traded right at the very last second, right? And they flip-flop running backs. We saw more trades happen than we have, and it was, surprising to say the least in some of them, because you didn't know any of these guys were even on the trade block. Other guys that you might have seen move, like Kareem Hunt or Elijah Moore, that tried to force his way out, couldn't get out, right? Brandon Cook, same thing, thought he was going to get traded, get off of an abysmal team in Houston. He's got to sit there, and he's got $18 million guaranteed coming to him, so he's probably not too...
Probably why he didn't get traded, right? That contract, nobody wanted to take that on.
Exactly, right? And then same thing with Cam Akers. You heard about him being inactive. You heard about him being away from the team. And this trade deadline now, by adding that extra game, it still seems like it may be a little bit too early because, yes, these teams try to press forward, but at the same time, you're seeing a different level of competition that's still, I mean, we're 3-5 with some of these teams that are still in the hunt right now, right? Yeah. They haven't faded from the pack too far. There's a lot of parity, and some of these teams that push forward made some really impressive moves.
Antonio Brown pronounces that parody, in case you were wondering. I don't know if you saw that interview, but it is parody. You said it right. Congratulations.
Thanks. I appreciate that. One thing that completely flew under the radar, which I absolutely love the pick, right? Calvin Ridley, who is an immensely talented wide receiver, right? Yeah. You take him off that team last year in Atlanta, and everything is completely different because of that. Because he gambled on his own team, right? We can gamble in the NFL, but we're not allowed to bet on our own team. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, your suspension is greater than some of these egregious things that are happening throughout the NFL, right? You're gone the entire year. He gets kind of snuck and pushed aside, right? The regime that came in doesn't want him anymore. Jacksonville, kudos to you to go out and get a player that's going to be back next year to infuse young talent around a quarterback that you're trying to build around, but they got so many pieces in place right now.
They do, and obviously another member that was traded, Christian McCaffrey, pulls the trifecta this week. He proves his worth immediately, throws for a touchdown, runs for a touchdown, catches a touchdown. He's an absolute weapon. An absolute weapon. Obviously, they felt Jeff Wilson was expendable at that point. They make the move. They get something in return. You hopefully get Elijah Mitchell coming back at some point, coming off the bye week. They're getting healthier at the right time. That is a team to look out for. I expect them to be there at the end. I do. Again, I think they're going to be an NFC Championship team. Again, because they have the pieces in place, the team in place, the system in place that works in January football. That method works in January football. If you face a team and you can't run the ball in January, it usually catches up with you. Would you agree?
I do. The only thing that terrifies me is if they get down, they're done.
I agree.
If they get down, they are done. And we talked about the stat last week, 1-30 now. You've got to be able to come back on people. And I think they have the capability of doing it. They just haven't done it yet. And maybe now with having Christian McCaffrey, having Deebo Samuel get back healthy, having Trent Williams healthy, all of these things matter. I do think they'll be in the end because as good as I think Philadelphia is, right, they are still susceptible to going out there and laying an egg at any point in time.
Yeah.
And look, September football, October football, even early into November, all of those things matter to build momentum. You have to be playing your best come December. And then that's where we'll be able to distinguish who's really going to be in the Super Bowl hunt. Come December when we're on here talking on this show, I'll be able to tell you exactly who's going to be in those final 4 teams without any hesitation.
I couldn't agree more. Let's hit the rest of the trades real quick. Robert Quinn goes to an already loaded Philadelphia team. They're 4 rushers now. Hassan Reddick, Robert Quinn, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat.
With Fletcher Cox.
With Fletcher Cox and Hargraves in the middle. That's a D-line built to take you all the way to the end. Howie Roseman's done a fantastic job. Let's go on to another one that happened. Chase Claypool, Chicago Bears. Do you like that move? That's a team that really is not in contention. They're building for the future.
Interesting move, right? Obviously, when you make that trade, you say we like him enough to give up that high of a pick to say we're going to extend him now. And maybe it's because, okay, he's close proximity to Notre Dame. Like, GMs think differently, right? There's usually something behind the scenes of why you go and sign a guy like that. Because he has popularity coming from Notre Dame, because he's a big play wide receiver, you know, in the division where you've got to be able to run the ball, but you want to be able to throw it up for him, right? You want to have a larger margin of error for somebody like Justin Fields. Personally, I don't like the trade for Chicago. I think it's a great trade for Pittsburgh that's trying to figure out where they're at. They're in a transition period of doing stuff. You got to figure out who you're going to pay. They're always going to put more money on the defensive side of the ball. They're always going to err on that side of doing it. So a guy like that that's had some turmoil, that's been in trouble with Mike Tomlin, that's spouted off, said some stupid stuff, has been immature. I like the move from Pittsburgh. I don't like the move for the Chicago Bears.
Okay. Let's hit the final 2. So we got Kadarius Toney goes to Kansas City Chiefs. Great move, right? Andy Reid's always going to find another weapon.
Dynamic wide receiver.
This was a first-round pick. Obviously didn't fit what they were doing really with the Giants. They make this move. Andy Reid always does a phenomenal job of always getting one extra weapon when he can. Last one, T.J. Hawkinson. Trade within the division.
You don't usually see that.
You do not see that. It does not happen.
They must think he stinks.
Or, as Pat talked about a little bit yesterday on the show, Dan Campbell, former tight end, maybe he said, hey, man, let's go. Spread your wings. Get out of here. Get out of this place, right? Doubt that probably happened.
No.
The Vikings definitely got lucky seeing that Irv Smith gets injured the day before the deadline, and now they can make a move and might even get an upgrade. T.J. Hawkinson's a heck of a football
For sure, yeah. When he's healthy and when he's on, he is very good. He has not been healthy. He has not been on a lot. And again, maybe going there to a stronger culture, to a setup that's more conducive to have him have success. It's been interesting, though, right? This is a little bit of a trend in the NFL, and this is a league of trends, right? You see somebody get hurt, they automatically go out a team and make a move immediately. We saw with Marquise Brown. As soon as he gets hurt, the next day, Robbie Anderson, boom, traded, right? You just don't typically see it within the division, though. That's one thing that you sit there and you scratch your head a little bit at, and you say, again, if he's not in your plans for the future, then you do sever those ties, and you say, okay, we're ready to have him go out. And even if it is in the division, who cares, right? He's a tight end. He's not going to sit there and have a personal vendetta and be able to take over a football game like a quarterback, like a running back, like a wide receiver, something of that magnitude. But you're getting a very good football player.
Still a tough sell as a Detroit Lions fan, as a Detroit Lions team, as Dan Campbell has to walk in front of that group and say, hey, we just basically traded our best offensive player. Honestly, he's a top 10 pick. He's a guy that we invested in. And we fire Aubrey Pleasant. Is that his name?
Yep.
D-backs coach. Scapegoat.
Yep.
Probably should have been Aaron Glenn. We've talked about this.
And I just let it be known, I would fire you if you don't do your job. As good as friends as we are, I would fire your ass if you're not doing your job.
That's the way it should be. You can't fire somebody else as a scapegoat whenever the problem is one specific thing. You saw it with the Detroit Lions doing that. You also saw it with Frank Reich doing that to Marcus Brady.
Yeah.
Didn't even know Marcus Brady was the offensive coordinator because in my mind, Frank Reich's calling the offense plays.
Yeah.
So he's the guy at fault. But hey, well, let's just fire this guy with the title.
And then put the cart before the horse, or the whatever that saying is.
Yeah.
I'm not benching Matt Ryan. I'm firing the offensive coordinator and making sure that Matt Ryan can go play because everything that we saw from Stanton, no offense to him, right? Now this kid is making his second start against a team and he's lost his offensive coordinator, right? What do you got for me? What is that, the cheek? The cheek, yeah. I'm about to get in there.
Cheeks, incredible.
Oh, I love me some cheeks.
Halibut cheeks, beef cheeks, cod cheeks. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This food's good. Food's very, very good. All right, let's keep it moving.
Hold on, whoa. We didn't talk about the guy that was leading the league in tackles and got traded.
Okay, Roquan Smith.
I think it's a tremendous upgrade, right? I have this image in my mind. Robert Quinn leaves. Roquan Smith is in tears of losing a brother that goes, and then he gets shipped out. And that's what he wanted anyways, right? We saw the turmoil that he wanted to get out and do this. You go to a culture like that and you get a tempo setter for a team that already has a great culture that's going to be in it, right? This is a tough division. It's going to be a lot of back and forth with all of these teams. We even saw Monday night what transpired, right? Nobody's really separated themselves to get a difference maker. He's got to be in the long-term plans, right? He's got to be in the long-term future to make that trade. But now you have a centerpiece that you can build around for a long time to come in a division that revolves around running the football.
The way I see it is they just brought him in to pair with Patrick Queen. And now you have your new Ray Lewis and Bart Scott. That's the way I see it.
For a long time.
For a long time. Hopefully that's the way they see that. Interesting week because now you're seeing a league which notoriously really has never put a ton of emphasis into the trade deadline. I mean, and they weren't ever really great players. They may have been disgruntled players, right? But it was never great players. Now you're seeing this turn into more of the NBA.
Yeah.
You're seeing more of the big-time players being able to kind of get out and get onto contenders. And that's really cool. I think it's good for the brand. I think it's good for the league.
Yeah, I mean, look, sometimes you worry about adding these pieces because you don't know how they're going to have an effect on the culture you're trying to establish, right? Yeah. And we've talked ad nauseum about what it means to have a good culture because you don't want to jeopardize that. You look at the culture that exists in Seattle right now, a lot of people have left Seattle, right? Yeah. A lot of people were down on Seattle. Yeah. The GM and the head coach are on the same page. They've maintained being on that same page. And you can put people in there and you can add to these and the nucleus doesn't change. You have a certain type of guy that you're looking for to fit a mold of who you want to be and be able to do that. They're winning football games, close football games. They're playing a brand of football that is conducive to last the Russell Wilsons, the Richard Shermans, the Cam Chancellors of the world, right? Yeah. They have everything you need. And it's been impressive to see because that's not been the norm in this league. There's been ebbs and flows. So when you can create that, it's fine. When you try to add pieces to that, and again, some of these guys that you're saying there that want to get out, they never really truly forced their way out. The guys that wanted out were the guys that didn't get out, really.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I think it's definitely interesting. Let's pivot into kind of where we are. We're halfway through the season. I mean, I think we have a clear-cut feel of kind of where the teams are. I think we have a pretty good feel. The one interesting division is the Tom Brady Tampa Bay Buccaneers division. They're 3-5. They're one game back. It's a weak division. The Atlanta Falcons are leading that division. I love that Atlanta Falcons team. Will they sneak in? Will they run away with that division because of what they do? Probably not. But like I said in the beginning, they're going to be a dangerous team. They're proving exactly what I thought. They're going to win games with their run game. They're going to play solid on defense. And they've put themselves in a pretty good position halfway through the year. Now, the most talented team is obviously the Buccaneers. Tom Brady will probably get that team to win that division. They'll sneak in as a 4, whatever it is, and have a chance. At least you get yourself in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think they're what they were in years past, but we talked about this as well. The Aaron Rodgers-led Green Bay Packers, they are a team that is in shambles right now. They're not very good. They don't have weapons, and their offensive line stinks right now.
Is there a correlation to you not being in Tampa?
God, I would like to think so. I would like to really, really pat myself on the
back. I mean, if we're being honest, let's look at it. The numbers with Alan Quay Shipley there and the Tom Brady era.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
So
won a lot of football games.
I think that there's something there. Maybe be able to give you a call. Maybe Todd Bowles, Jason Light, get you back in the building.
We'll see. We'll see. No, I mean, they got some good guys down there. They got a good group, and they just got to start executing better. It comes down to execution.
Yeah.
The execution is not there. That's what football is all about.
But that leads us into our next segment of the backup plan.
Let's do it.
So, execution sometimes comes down to the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's.
Yeah.
You take an elite pass rusher, right? And Shaq Barrett tears his Achilles, which is never a good thing. I mean, that's tough, right? You'd love to be able to go sign Jason Pierre-Paul. Oh, you can't because he's somewhere else.
Yep.
So now you try and fill that role with 3 guys, right? They've got really 3 guys they're trying to make into one guy that's been an elite pass rusher, an all-pro type of guy that gets after the quarterback, does everything you need. You know all 3 of these guys,
Yep.
right? I think that they can do it. But what does that look like, right? When you're trying to fill that role with a guy that has been perennial on the field for you every down that can get after the quarterback. Now you're mixing and matching a guy that can stop the run. You have a guy that is pretty good against both, and you got a guy that's just strictly there for third down.
Shaq Barrett has been a perennial type all-pro type player for most of his career, right? I mean, they rewarded him with a 70-something million. I mean, I think he won the sack title the one year. He passed Chandler Jones late in the year, finished with 19, 20 sacks, whatever it was. Let's be honest, if we're calling a spade, right? Like, he has not given you the production that you had hoped in the last 2 years. I mean, he still gave you, I think, 10 last year, but that's a far cry from 19, 20 the year before, right? And so this year, again, I don't think you're getting the same thing. You don't have Pierre-Paul on the other side. You got, Joe Tryon Shoyanka, who's got some shit to him. He's got some stuff to him, but he's not giving you the production, the numbers that you would have hoped. So now they can turn their attention to Shaq, and you're not getting the same thing. Will Anthony Nelson, will Carl Nassib, will
Jannard Avery, Jannard Avery's your pass rush guy, supposedly.
Right. Will the committee give you that? Probably, because you're not getting the same production, but you're not going to get the same person. You're not going to get the same player, the experience, the guy that can turn it on, because we all know Shaq can give you 4 in a game.
Yeah, and the level of respect. I mean, he is jumping off that ball.
Jumps off the ball. He flies. He just get off. He's second to none. It's tough to lose. You watch what teams try and do when they try and replace a guy like Chandler Jones here in Arizona by committee, and you ain't getting shit.
No.
You're not getting shit.
That's not to say you need an elite guy.
You need an elite guy.
That's why they get paid what they did get paid.
Yep. I think that's a great point. Cardinals offensive line staying here in Arizona.
Yeah, let's stay right here. Another group committee type of thing. I mean, you're not replacing 1. You're not replacing 2. You're potentially replacing 3 guys on an offensive line that already wasn't playing to a level that Kyler Murray felt comfortable.
And really, at the end of the day, what does make Kyler Murray comfortable, right? You got a starting group with 190 starts combined, and he's not feeling comfortable in that situation. Now you got a backup group, he's not comfortable in that situation. So what does? Like, is there really a group in this NFL, maybe the Cleveland Browns, maybe the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe the Dallas Cowboys, that are shutting people down and giving you a clear pocket? You got dudes on the other side now. Dudes on every team. There's going to be some pressure. There's going to be some push of the pocket. There's going to be some things like that. You have to be able to manage it and still make plays. The good ones all do.
So does that bother you as an offensive lineman if you see your quarterback?
Yes and no, but I also see this interior offensive line decimated by injuries and the backups coming in and struggling, right? Like, you saw a clear game plan. I don't think I've seen Zadarius Smith and Daniil Hunter standing up in the middle of other teams' offensive lines all year, and that was a clear, we're going to get our pressure. We're going to run some twist games on these 3 guys.
And that's going to continue?
It's going to continue.
Of course it will, right?
It's going to either be that.
Blood in the water.
Blood in the water. And in this league, right, we talk about it all the time. Once there's blood on the water on tape, it's going to show up for 4 weeks until you shut it down. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And so you're going to see it for the next couple of weeks. It's either going to be that, or you're going to see a Seattle team come in, and they already do that period no matter if there's a good offensive line or a bad offensive line. And what are they going to do? They're going to go 5 down across the board. And what happens when you go 5 down across the board? We got one-on-one matches.
5 one-on-ones, baby.
5 one-on-ones. So you better be able to hold up.
Right here. That's the signal. 5.
You don't even got to do it. You can do whatever signal it is. They know we're blocking one-on-one, boys. And They got some guys on Seattle. I mean, that defense is flying around. I don't think they're as good as they were when they were Legion of Boom. I think the numbers obviously speak to that, but those dudes play hard.
They do. I mean, you're talking about Hall of Famers on every level there. So
exactly.
It's hard to replicate that.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Green Bay Packers, struggling already.
Oh, and then you take an All-Pro off the team?
And you take an All-Pro, Devondre Campbell, off the team. Is he out for the year? What's his deal?
His knee, they don't really know how long. I mean, it also doesn't help when your first-round pick goes out and picks a fight with a guy in street clothes, and then he gets kicked out of the game. Right?
Probably not the best.
I mean, you'd like to have him, and he just does something foolish like that. But Devondre Campbell has been a centerpiece there. All-Pro guy, making the calls, making the tackles, doing everything. They're already talking about trying to fire Joe Barry as the defensive coordinator, all of these things, right? Pressure builds very quickly in this league around coaches. It builds very quickly around players. And when you take somebody off like that, what does that look like? Who's going to fill that role? Who's going to fill those gaps to be able to make those tackles? And this is one that's going to be very interesting because depending on how long he's out for and everything, there's a big gap right now for the Green Bay Packers to try and make up that. They're not used to being this far behind this early in the season in a race that they can't afford to lose any ground in.
No, and I think the biggest X factor in that whole thing that you just said, they're not used to being this far behind, but they're also not used to having another team in the division that is playing their asses off, and the Minnesota Vikings are. I read yesterday, this Green Bay Packers team has the most first and second round picks on any defense in the NFL. You're getting word out of the locker room that, hey, a lot of sources say people close to the locker room
those are the worst.
aren't happy with the scheme that they're running on defense, things like that, right?
That's a huge issue. Well,
huge issue.
When you look at it, right, there's also a big problem if you have somebody like Quay Walker that you invest a first-round pick in this past year and he's not ready to play. So you're saying right now that a sixth-round pick from 2 years ago gives you a better chance, is a more sound option than your first-round pick. That's comes down to coaching in some regard of saying we've got to be able to get our talent on the field because what's hampering Green Bay right now on offense is execution. What's hampering them right now on defense is execution. It's not talent. They have that, as you talked about, having invested all of these first-round picks. The pressure is going to build because in Green Bay, in Titletown, they do not take lightly to losing.
Let me say this, and let me get your opinion on this. It's classic coach speak. It's classic media speak. It's classic you and I talk when we watch film. Comes down to execution. How much of execution is on the players when you see constant bad execution versus the coaches?
Well, and here's the thing.
Versus culture as well. Let's throw that. There's three things in there, right?
Culture takes a way back seat to the other two, right?
Okay.
I think it is a collective group. I think it is a collective group effort between the coaches and the players, right? Freddie Kitchens once said that Bill Parcells told him, if you can't get the most out of your player, why are you coaching? I don't need you if you can't get them to learn what I need them to do. So you've got to know what your players are capable of doing. A first-round pick is not going to be treated the same as a free agent that you're trying to get on the field and have learn and do all these things, right?
Agree.
And then another guy that I was around when I first got to Detroit, Fernando Bryant, said, you can always tell what a coach is thinking because if you play man defense, it's the player's fault. If you play zone, it's the coach's fault, right? So some of these teams that aren't playing great man-to-man, anytime I see a linebacker on Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson or DeAndre Hopkins, that's the coach's fault. That's the scheme's fault. You're an idiot for thinking that you can get away with that at any point in time because the structure of that defense is set up to fail, right?
I agree.
If you see some of these linebackers that are trying to cover Christian McCaffrey, good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. So there's a balance between some of these things that I think you see. The offensive coordinators that are really good, they're one step ahead of the defensive coordinators. Yeah. They realize, okay, are you adding on in cover zero? Okay, if you're not, I'm just going to pull a tight end in here and I'm going to change the protection because all of a sudden once he triggers and you come from 8 yards and you try and find your way in the mess, there's all of these things.
Yep.
These college coaches that try to come to the NFL and say, my scheme's just going to outlast you, I'm going to beat you with tempo, and I'm going to do all these things, and I'm just going to get the ball out, that does not work. That does not work. We've seen it time and time again. The problem is the defensive coordinators all of a sudden defect back to what they think they know and can do, and you bring pressure and you don't get home, man, oh man, you're in trouble because it's cover 0 and everybody's on an island, especially some of these wide receivers, man. You find a matchup and you get that extra tick to be able to do it. And the really good quarterbacks in this league know when they gain an advantage strategically and they have the pen last.
And when you don't get home and you got issues on execution on both sides of the ball, then you go into the locker room after the game. And what happens after the game? We get some quotes.
Oh.
Let's read between the lines a little bit. So a team that's been losing, right? A team that's been losing frequently. I think this is probably the most games in a row Tom Brady's ever lost.
05.
Since 05.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a long. Okay. How old were you in 2005?
I was a freshman in college. Great team that year. Great team. Mike Robb takes us to the Orange Bowl. Big year. Big year. Anyways, little side note. Tom Brady says this.
You know what? I'm glad it's unfamiliar, and I want this to be as unfamiliar as possible. So, losing sucks, and we've put a lot into winning, just like every team does. And no one's feeling sorry for the Bucs. We know that.
Tom's talking about he wants everybody to feel this. It's also telling me I'm not so sure that this hurts everybody as much as it hurts me. This is a guy that his entire career, his entire life is built on winning, and he has to win. Like, that's his personality.
Yeah.
He has to win. It's the Michael Jordans, it's the Kobe Bryants, the hims, the LeBrons. They have to win. And when they don't win, it's a real shot to their ego, right? Like, it's a real shot to their personality. And I think this is him basically subtly saying, hey, if this doesn't hurt y'all as bad as it hurts me, like, I don't know what the hell we're doing. Like, we got to get going here. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's some indirect motivation, right?
Yeah.
I think there's also the fact of him just plainly saying, this is unfamiliar for me because I don't accept this. There is a standard in which we're going to operate. I mean, to not lose three games in a row, I mean, it's remarkable, right? But it also lets you know where he's been, the people that he's been around, and all these things. It's fixable, right? We talked about it. This division is not what we expected. They still have the leadership that they have to be able to put it in place, you know. But at the same time, you are only measured by wins and losses. That's it.
That is it. I always say this in this league. Potential gets you fired.
Yeah.
It gets you fired. When you're a GM and a head coach and you're like, oh, let's take this guy. He's a diamond in the rough. Yeah, that diamond in the rough can't get on the field for 3 years. You ain't going to be there to see him on the third year, I promise.
Exactly. And he also said, he finished that quote up with saying, you know, we put a lot into winning. Everybody does. I don't know if everybody's put their marriage into it. I mean, he sacrificed the marriage because of it, unfortunately. And it's sad to see. It's really hard to see.
Yeah.
But that's, again, when you have that mindset, the Tiger Woods of the world, where this is everything to you, it becomes a way of life.
Sure, there's no doubt
So,
about it.
you know what? He's got to get everybody on board, and they'll get it figured out. You know, you see guys that are getting healthy, hopefully. That defense has been absolutely crushed in the secondary.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Agree.
they're still, I mean, they still get to play the Saints. They still get to play the Panthers. And they already beat the Falcons this year, so they're going to get another opportunity at them. I mean,
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think, I mean, they're clearly the most talented team. Let's keep it with somebody who comes from the same culture, Josh McDaniels.
same tree.
Same tree. Basically, everybody that tries to emulate Bill Belichick really hasn't been able to figure that out.
Well,
they really have.
And so when you're up at the podium and you say exactly what we're about to lead into right here, this is what he had to say.
Again, if you coach or play long enough, you're going to have one or two of these. And, you know, if you let it affect you longer than what it should, then, you know, that's shame on you. It's a long year. I think we, you know, I believe we haven't reached our best football yet. And, you know, it's going to take work and progress and improvement.
I would hope that he doesn't believe they've reached their best brand of football yet. Because if they have at 2-5, there is a lot left to be desired. But going back to the first portion of that quote, right? If you're in this league long enough, then you're going to have one or two of these. He's only been a head coach, really, right? When you're a defensive coordinator, you can kind of hide if you get blown out, right? You can kind of just move it aside. This is a week in, week out type of answer that he's getting up there and having to stand up for himself, for what he believes in. And as you said before, sometimes you can't just take what they do in New England and bring it out to Vegas and it's going to be okay. You made some big moves, right? It is inexcusable for Davante Adams to be doing what he is doing right now offensively. And I said it before, when he's not used to having a marquee wide receiver that he can just find ways and script to get the ball to. Good offensive coordinators, they have a little section on their call sheet. This, and this will get the ball in his hands. Guaranteed, he is going to get into the rhythm of it. You pay these guys all this money to be able to do it, right? You insert DeAndre Hopkins back after he's been gone into a scheme in Arizona, and automatically he's got 12 catches and another 12 catches or whatever he's had, right? Double-digit targets. You've got to get these guys fed. If not, you're going to lose 24-0, and you're going to sit at 2-5, and you're going to sit there and scratch your head and be like, well, how did we get here?
And they got there playing a New Orleans Saints team that was fucking, their back was against the wall.
Awful.
Playing with Andy Dalton. Like, I said 2 weeks ago, I think it was, like, hey, like, cut your losses with all your guys you have there and just fucking go with Taysom Hill. Like,
all day long.
All day long. Let's keep it moving. Make him the guy. I mean, you're paying him a shit ton of money. And this is a team, Josh McDaniels, you got to get this thing figured out. You have way too much talent. Like, this is not like this is the Detroit Lions where you're sitting there and you're like, oh, like, I don't even know who half these guys are. Like, you're trying to play games with.
They get after the quarterback. I mean, they were a good football last team. Say what you want to say about John Gruden. I don't agree with how he was conducting himself off the field. That football team was far better prepared week in and week out.
Yep.
And we're contending week in and week. 24-0 is getting absolutely meleeed in this league.
Getting targets to Hunter Renfrow, like enough to get him paid. You now have Davante Adams.
No.
This is a guy, the guy of guys.
What would Aaron Rodgers give to get Davante Adams
he
back
would give
right now?
everything. But yeah, I mean, Josh McDaniels has to find a way to continue to get better and start winning games, because you can't keep giving the same cliche answers, because at the end of the day, at some point, you have to sit there and be like, hey, man, this is on you. This is your fault.
Yeah.
You got way too much talent on paper.
We dipped too far as soon as you showed up.
Agree. This next quote by Lovie Smith of the Houston Texans blew my absolute mind. This is what he had to say.
Going to heal up, hopefully get a few guys back. We're a little short-handed right now, and try to do a better job. We knew who we were playing, one of the best backs in the game. And that physical brand of football, we weren't ready to play that today.
We'll roll right into this shit. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is inexcusable for a head coach that's getting ready to play a Tennessee Titans team. You see Tennessee Titans on the schedule, you circle it. You know what they're going to do.
You just write Derrick Henry right there.
Run the ball with Derrick Henry. That is what they're going to do. Yeah, they paid Tannehill. Yeah, they got some dudes on the outside.
They don't, though.
They got some guys. They got some guys. I know they got rid of A.J. Brown, but they still got Robert Woods. They got some guys. But at the end of the day, everything they do is Derrick Henry. And the fact that you're going to sit there and say, hey, we weren't prepared for that brand of football today.
We were ready to play today.
That's on you.
100%.
9-on-7, shoulder pads, full pads are on Wednesday.
Make it a hell week.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Friday is obviously Friday. It's your easy day. But at the end of the day, you put the work in and the hay in the barn on Wednesday and Thursday of getting your boys ready. Hey, this is going to be a big boy week. This is going to be a full pad week.
And Malik Willis is making his first start, right? You've seen him all over the map throwing a football. You know they're going to run the football, right?
Yeah.
Not surprising, though, because Lovie Smith came from Illinois where they were completely average. Brett Bielema takes them over, and now they're in the top 25. I mean, you just look at it. Questions need to be raised. Is Lovie Smith going to be there?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about this over and over again, right? Some guys are great coordinators, maybe not the best head coaches. I mean, he comes from...
Is he a good coordinator?
I mean, maybe he just had great dudes, right?
Yeah.
He was a coordinator when they had great dudes, right?
Yeah.
Like,
guys,
Urlacher, and all them cats, right? Like,
yeah.
That was a team. That was a
For
great
sure.
defense, right? And so, yeah, I mean, it's a great question, but at the end of the day, like, I just don't know if this is the answer. I mean, the fact that you're coming out and saying that is a completely wrong answer. Wrong answer.
If you're a head coach or a quarterback at this point, and you start waving the white flag indirectly, hence why we do this whole segment, what are they saying between the lines right now? If you don't have answers, yet you're the guy that's supposed to have the answers, that's a big problem. That's very unsettling for an owner, for a GM, when you sit there and say, well, what are we going to do now? And you're like, I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Not good. Pull the plug now.
Pull the plug.
Immediately.
Let's move into some picks. We got some... I think we got some good ones.
Better week last week. Mark went 2-1. I'm still trying to catch you. You're back at 50% though, right? And
I think that's a winning game.
the Sharps are like 60%, right? Like if we get there, the Browns. I should have seen. Joe Burrow has yet to beat the Browns because again,
that defensive line. That defense, he faces them. I know, it's tough. I will say this. I did not give, yeah, exactly. You get a little feet in the pocket. I will say this, though. I didn't put this out because it was a shot in the dark. I hit $100 7-leg parlay. All money lines. I got a gift from
Can we see the receipt? Can we see the receipt? Will you post the receipt for us? Okay, yeah.
I got a gift from the gods in 2 games. I had the Falcons money line over the Panthers. Got a gift.
Yeah.
There's no penalty. They kick the extra point. We keep it moving, even from back.
Yeah.
Still should make that. Had a chance in overtime. Missed it. So I got a gift there. Other gift. Taylor Heineke brings them back against the Colts at Indy. Those 2 games were huge for me. Anyways, let's get right into it. I'm going to go with this, and it might all come from Philly. Philly might put up 60 points in their own.
They're going to have to.
They might have to. We got a low over-under here. We got Philadelphia-Houston this week. We got the over-under set at 44.5. I'm going with the over. I'm taking the over.
Are they going to be ready this week?
Not a chance. But that offense in Philly will be. Their offensive line is healthy. Their whole group is healthy. A.J. Brown is a fucking dog.
Can we talk about, I mean, you know a team has found its stride when you can enjoy going to work every day, when you can dress up like a teammate for Halloween, like Lane Johnson did. I loved it. That shows you what that culture is, how they have come together, and I love seeing things like that because that's the between-the-lines stuff. Yeah. Those things that you just see guys that genuinely enjoy each other.
It's also that offensive line has been together for years. That's also a thing that's underrated. Like,
it's completely underrated.
Every couple years, you turn on free agency and we're letting the guard go because he costs too much money. They do a fantastic job of keeping that group together, and they're paying dudes. Yeah. Kelsey's paid, Johnson's paid. Like, those dudes are paid. They're paying a guard. They're paying. You know what I'm saying?
You can do that with a quarterback on a rookie deal.
That's exactly right.
Going to change quickly.
It's going to change quickly. Is right. New England Patriots versus the Indianapolis Colts. Indianapolis Colts are dead. They're dead. They're dead. They gave up.
Grabbing at straws.
They go with Sam Ellinger, who's in street clothes 2 weeks ago, as the guy. They got Matt Ryan now in street clothes. Nick Foles just stuck in the middle of a puppet race right now. That team is going nowhere and nowhere fast. Their offensive line is not playing up to their standards. They felt good about it coming in. The running back, I think Jonathan Taylor's banged up. He's in and out of the injury tent every week when he is playing. When he's not playing, he's not practicing, he's banged up. Team's dead. Patriots, hard place to play, hard place to win. Colts have stunk historically up there.
Yeah, we got meleeed.
Meleeed. That's a lock.
Is that your lock of the week?
Might be my lock of the week.
Throwing locks up
there. I do. I absolutely do. Miami Dolphins. This is a team I love. They got them at -5.5 at Chicago. This is a team that just got rid of their 2 best defensive players over the course of the last week. And that team pretty much dead to me too. They're playing for next year. I mean, they're playing for next year. Their offense has gotten better. I do think after the bye week they did a nice job of expanding the offense to fit the personnel and obviously the guy at quarterback. I do love Tevin Jenkins, their guard. Other than that, O-line is not great. Got some young guys. They're playing for the future, trying to get them reps, get better for next year. Miami Dolphins, though, winner of the trades. Tua is back. When he's back and he's playing with the guys on the outside, 2 great running backs, fit the scheme, came from the old San Fran scheme. Miami Dolphins.
2 great wide receivers on the outside, too.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Now to mine. I'm still 1 game back. I can't make up that 1 game. I mean, I was sitting there 2-0 thinking, okay, this is the week. I'm going to hit the 3 in a row. Not so lucky. That's right. But I'm piggybacking off of you because I think New England Patriots, for all the same reasons you said, right? They're going to cover that 5.5 at home against Indianapolis. I think this is a team that will start pointing fingers very quickly in Indianapolis because they already are behind closed doors, right? You said, he said, she said, they're here, there. Let's put Sam Ellinger in there. And the players are questioning it, right? When your offensive linemen are saying, I don't know why they made this move, right? Like, that's not a vote of confidence. That doesn't make you feel real good. And it's not like they're out of that race. They are in it. But we move on to Baltimore, right? Winners of the trade deadline, right? You get 2.5 points that you have to give. You go to New Orleans, which is a hard place to play, really tough place to play. They're going to be rowdy. They always are. I just like the makeup of this team. I like what they're going to do. They can insert Roquan Smith in there. Again, you pair him with all of the pieces they have in place, and they are just kind of staying the course. They're going to get this thing figured out. They're a little banged up. Mark Andrews might miss this game. They might try and get him healthy, but they've got a young tight end that they believe in. He started leading them. Isaiah Likely.
King of the preseason.
I picked him up.
I like it.
I went and snatched him off the waiver wire for fantasy football. So I like that a lot. Lastly, because of all of the injuries that are happening in Buffalo, with Jordan Poyer hurting his elbow, he's out for, an extended period of time. They're doing different things. They're very worried about trying to keep everybody healthy. You got to keep Josh Allen healthy in order for them to be who they are going to be. They make a nice little trade. They're trying to run the football. They're trying to figure out a way to manufacture a run game, right? And then you look at the New York Jets, and everybody's starting to question Zach Wilson. Is he the guy? Can they do all these things? I am taking the first half under. Not the under for the game, because I haven't hit on those. Those have stunk. The first half under gets me out of there. I can get in before, because this is going to be a feeling out process within the division. It's under 23.5 points. And I think the under is always good to bet the first half when you have a situation like this. They're going to try to protect Zach Wilson. They're not going to let him go out and force the ball into windows he shouldn't. They're going to try and play it close to the vest. Same thing with Buffalo. There's going to be good defense play. The clock's just going to run, and then it's going to run out in the first half.
I love it. I like where you're at. I love you switching it up and taking a half bet. I like a half bet.
I mean, yeah.
But I agree. I mean, that's a team that they're going to sit there and be like, hey, Buffalo's literally, if they're looking at it the same way I'm looking at it, I know a coach can't come out and say this, but they have to be looking at this. Buffalo's unbeatable.
Yeah.
On paper, and what they've shown on film, they're unbeatable. So how do we keep this close and hope that they fucking make a mistake? Like, that's what has to happen, right?
And I think, too, right, the game plan will work effectively to start the first half. Like, you might bottle up Josh Allen and make him have to do that. They're so good at deviating from that plan, or he's an X factor, that the under is not going to be good for 4 quarters, but the first 2, I really like it.
Hey, joining us now, we have one of my favorite all-time teammates. He was lucky enough to be in the NFL for a billion seasons. One of the best receivers of all time, from the University of Pittsburgh, Arizona Cardinals, just got inducted in the Arizona Hall of Fame, soon to be the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Larry Fitzgerald, thanks for joining us, brother.
Man, it's an honor to be on, and you guys are 2 of my favorite teammates. Q, I love you, even though you went to Boy Lover U. You didn't have the grades to get in the pit. Moon Township, easy drive to the University of Pittsburgh campus in Oakland, but man, you chose to make the long journey. It worked out well for you, though. It worked out okay, man. Everybody keeps coming at me with that interesting university that I went to. But hey, man, thanks for joining us. Let's talk a little bit about. We got a big game coming up this week. We got the Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks. I learned so much being your teammate, watching you work every week. Did you approach this rivalry any different? I know it's the biggest game. You always circle those 2 games every year, right? You look forward to that Seattle game. Did you approach this week any differently? I mean, you always had to approach it with a high level of detail, because when we were playing, they were always playing against, arguably the best defense, in the league, when they were, the Legion of Boom. They had Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, and Cliff Averill, and Michael Bennett, and Bobby Wagner, and KJ. I mean, they were so deep. They weren't like sophisticated in the schemes they ran. They just ran their scheme really, really well. They always had answers for things and highly competitive. And so any mistake that you made, they would exploit it. And so you knew you didn't have a lot of margin for error. And when you played against them, you had to be playing at your best if you had a chance to win.
Are you surprised at all right now with the success that they're having up there in Seattle still?
No, not really. I mean, Pete Carroll's, a Hall of Fame talent coach. I mean, he's done an unbelievable job of putting together a group of guys who are playing for each other. There's a lot of headlines were made this offseason when they moved on from Russell Wilson and, gave the reins to Geno Smith. And, you can kind of see the confidence in him growing every single week. This is the first opportunity he's had since he played with the Jets as a first-round pick. Somebody that actually believes in him. They want him in the building. They've put everything on his shoulders and given him the ability to go out and play free. He's leading the league right now in passion efficiency, throwing it over 70%. So he's playing with a lot of confidence. over the last 4 weeks, they've led the National Football League in rushing. And so they've gotten back to a firm commitment of running the football, being a dominant upfront team that's going to, grind out wins, and they can beat you over the top with two prolific receivers and Lockett and DJ Metcalf. So the way they played football is kind of a brand of what they used to play back in the day and gotten away from it. And now they're doing it again, and guys are playing with a lot of confidence.
Hey, let's pivot. Yesterday was the trade deadline. Do you think it's good for the brand of the NFL to start seeing teams be more aggressive at the deadline? You saw all these people, right? Like, you saw a ton of moves of contenders going and getting another piece to try and bolster. You haven't seen that in years past, but now you're starting to see a little bit more of that. Do you think it's good?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the most trades in NFL history over the last few days, and I love it. I love it. The teams are trying to make moves to get better. I mean, you look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They're top 5 in sacks right now in the game. You could look at their whole team and you say, look, their defensive front probably is the best in the business, but they felt like they wanted to get even deeper. They go out and get Robert Quinn, who's a 100-sack guy, who's been, assaulting quarterbacks for many years, to add another component to the team. And so it just shows you a lot about, teams who really believe that they have the ability to take it to the next level and play deep into the playoffs. And I love teams who are aggressive in that manner. And then you look at the flip side and you look at Carolina. You looked at, you say there's a fire sale there, but I mean, they're one game out of the lead in their division. They should have won the game last week if DJ Moore keeps his helmet on and they make the extra point. They win that game. They're leading the division, and they're in a position that they can control their own destiny. And you look at them and you say, look, they're playing for the future. So you just never know. But I love the action. I think it adds a lot of suspense to the stretch run of the season.
Do you think nowadays, though? I mean, again, when we were at our best in Arizona, there was so much team chemistry, and you were huge on that, right? Does that affect chemistry by trying to insert some of these superstar guys? Because some of them might work out, some of them might not work out. But I remember even when I first got here, right, you would have a team party and bring everybody together. Does chemistry matter nowadays, or does everybody just say, hey, we got to go out and win football games?
Oh, absolutely. You look at the good teams. I mean, you can't tell me that, Christian McCaffrey going to a team who played in the NFC Championship game, who is, a perennial contender over the last few years, is going to hurt their team chemistry. A guy with that type of character, that type of resume is only going to enhance the team chemistry, make that team better. Because it's all about the player. Robert Quinn has been a guy he's moved around from different teams, but he's always been a guy that's been respected in the locker room. So he's going to add to those teams. I mean, so it really just depends on the kind of character and the quality. But when you trade for somebody, in that position, you look at the Ravens bringing in Roquan Smith. He's a leading tackler in the NFL. And you listen to the press conference of his teammates talking about him. All they do is talk about his character, his leadership, the things he brought to the building, his infectious attitude. Like, he's bringing that same mentality to an already established, Baltimore Ravens, great culture. So he's going to add to that. So I'm just looking at just the guys who've moved and what they stand for. I think they're only going to enhance their team cultures.
All right, so we got a couple teams, 3 and 5, that we did not foresee. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, 2 of the best ever to play the game, right? Is it panic time for those teams?
It's more panic in Green Bay than it is in Tampa. It's just because they're Green Bay now. They're 4 games out of first place. I mean, it's an uphill trek to be able to catch the Minnesota Vikings at this point. And then you look around and you look at Dallas and you look at New York Giants. There are multiple games in front of you in the NFC wild card chase. So, I mean, like, it's tough. You're behind the 8 ball. I still believe Tampa's going to win that division. They're the most talented by a landslide out of anybody there. They haven't played great defensively. Their offensive line has been decimated throughout the course of the year. They still have the greatest player who ever played the game in Tom Brady. And I just believe that type of leadership, that type of ability, his resolve to be able to work through adversity that he's done, throughout his career, I think that will pay dividends for him. And so I think Green Bay is in a lot more dire position than Tampa is.
One thing that I've always been so impressed by you with is you're so eloquent with the media. And I think that's something that, we're seeing this shift and this pivot of guys not always towing the company line or not always saying what it is, but you did such a good job of balancing all that. And I think it'd be really cool to hear, why is that? Why did you have training? Did you have effort? Is it how you're wired? What is it that makes you so unique? Because a lot of these guys that aren't happy, right? And I'm sure you weren't happy your entire career. It wasn't like everything went perfect for you, but you've always said and done the right thing. And even behind the scenes, I mean, that's also who you are. But can you, peel back the layers a little bit and tell us why that is? Because I don't think people understand that until you get to see how you operate on a daily basis.
Well, I had the cheat code. You gotta think, my dad's been a journalist, sports journalist for 44 years in Minnesota. I was around him every day, going to locker rooms with the Minnesota Twins, going to locker rooms with the Minnesota Vikings, going to locker rooms with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and being around some of the greatest, and, be able to not only sit there and watch it, but to go back and listen to it and see the questions that my dad was asking and other journalists were asking, seeing how guys responded, their body language, the clothes they wore, how engaged they were with who they were talking to, like all of those things I was watching at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Never would I have dreamed I would have had the opportunity to play, in the National Football League as I got older. But, these are things that I still remember. I remember how, the way you were able to convey your message and how it was interpreted, has a lot to do with, the team chemistry and how you're perceived as a leader. So, those things are always, were always, top of mind when I was engaged with the media. They're not always, have your best interests, and, sometimes it sells more papers and media clicks when they can cause division. So, you have to be aware of who you're talking to, the people you can trust, and the relationships that you develop. So all of those things are taken into account.
Hey, so many people struggle when they leave the gridiron, right? And you, I think, better than most, started to plan for that towards the end of your career. You started diving into business. You're obviously at the top of the world when it comes to business, and now you've jumped into the media side. Are you enjoying Monday Night Football? I know it takes some time away from your golf game, but are you enjoying
and pickleball?
Yeah,
I can't wait to get you on the court, but you keep ducking me.
Are you enjoying it though?
I am. There's a couple of things that I have a strategic advantage because I played for 17 years, and so when you're 20 years old, all you're focused on when you get in the league, or 21 or 22, whenever you guys got in, was just like, how do I make a career out of this? Like, how can I play 10 years? How can I get to a second contract? How can I just make sure my family, my wife and my kids are taken care of, and, I went through that. I got to year 10, year 8, and I'm thinking, I'm still playing, I'm still loving it, I'm still enjoying it. But then I also see a lot of guys who are transitioning out of the game and really having like serious issues, because they didn't have, things that they could really do once they were finished, and so I really started to like ask myself, like, what do you want to be involved in? Like, what don't you want to be involved in? So I started doing interns every off season to kind of like, if I want to get in real estate, then I should go intern at a real estate fund. Or if I want to get into venture capital, I need to go intern at a venture capital fund. If I want to, do more in terms of my philanthropic endeavors with my foundation, I need to go learn from the American Cancer Society and see how they're doing it, how they're able to raise funds, how are they able to go out every single year and raise $800 million for cancer research. Now, I know obviously I can't do it at that level, but I know I can take a little bit of what their playbook is and put it into what I'm doing. And so, it really actually started for me in 2009, was kind of my first kind of foray into it. So I was at a New York Knicks basketball game, and I randomly met a guy by the name of Frank Bisignano. And he's now the CEO of Fiserv. He was a former CEO of First Data before they merged, but he was the COO at JP Morgan at the time. And he asked me to come do an internship there. And I went in, and I did it. And it really just kind of changed my mindset about not only the preservation of my own capital and making sure I am a good steward of it, but also trying to help other people make better and sound decisions, and also investing in myself. As much as you can invest in the companies and public equities and the things that you do, you have to make a serious investment in yourself if you want to be able to do something that you can be proud of once you're done playing football. So you have to make that investment while you're playing, because once you get finished, if you don't have something, already kind of cooking, people is like, hey, like, I don't know if you bring any value anymore. You're not playing anymore. I can't, get access to this, and, you can't get exposure to this. And so you have to have those genuine relationships established.
Well, plus you're an unbelievable photographer. I think that's one thing that I think is really good. People don't know that, right? Like,
I don't know if I would say unbelievable. I would say more so I'm passionate about it. I enjoy it, going somewhere unique and being able to capture the moment, not for like Instagram photos, but something that I can be really proud of. I can look back and, I have pictures in my house now that my sons would be like, man, Dad, that was really cool. I want to do that one time. So you're even able to pique the interest of, of your children to go expand and get outside their comfort zone and travel the world and see different people and learn about different religions. The more you get out and see the world, the more you see that we're very similar to people. It doesn't matter if you call your God Allah, or you are, you don't eat meat, or you choose to be homosexual, or like whatever the differences are. When you travel, I think you see the more of the commonalities that we have as people. Like, I think as humans, you just want to be loved. You want to love somebody else. You want to be a part of community. Like those are simple things. It doesn't matter where you live, Russia, Switzerland. Like those things are universally, wanted and needed for people. So there's a lot of things you can do when you travel to be able to find those commonalities, and to be able to capture those moments are really cool.
That's a great message, man. We need more of that in this world, no doubt about it. We will wrap this up. Not only are you one of the greatest football players ever to walk this planet, you're one of the best teammates we for sure have had, and I think every single other teammate you ever had will echo that sentiment. Thank you for taking time away from the golf course and all your other things you're doing, for joining us today, and we really appreciate it, brother.
Great to be on with you, Q. Drew, it's great to be with you as well, man. Tell your wives I said hello, and hope to see you guys sometime soon on the golf course, on the pickleball court. But whatever I'm doing, I'm gonna take y'all money, because
we knew that was coming. We knew that was coming. I love you. Thank you.
All right. You guys have a great day.
This was a good one, man. We had a great interview with the one and only Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Legend.
Larry Legend.
The mayor of Phoenix. The
mayor
governor of Arizona. Make sure to vote.
Yeah, there it is. But yeah, great little interview with Larry. Pala, downtown Phoenix. Unbelievable spread. I ate a lot of this shit. I mean, this was unbelievable. This was incredible.
Unbelievable spread.
Thanks for tuning in with us, and look forward to seeing where the rest of this season goes. Like, I really am. I'm really excited to see where the rest of this season goes. It's gone pretty much how I feel like we thought it would right now. Thanks for sticking with us, y'all. At AQ Shipley, at Drew Stanton, at the Bobbled Exchange on all platforms, and keep listening. Cheers.